Hi friends, it's Taylor. Welcome back to my channel where I share my financial journey to debt freedom and financial independence. Today we're doing my financial reset for 2025 using primarily Monarch Money, but I also use Notion and Google Sheets for some additional planning. Monarch Money is my day-to-day budgeting software. And then Notion is where I plan out my goals, and Google Sheets is where I do my projections because I have some calculators on there that predict when I'm going to reach certain milestones in my financial journey. So all three of these together allow me to really have a lot of control over my finances and see the bigger picture of where I stand. If you want to jump right into the reset, head to the timestamps below to choose where you want to start. I'm going to do a little bit of housekeeping before we get started. For those who are new here, I've been using Monarch Money for I think 2 years now as my personal finance tool, and I will leave a link below for you to get an extended 30-day trial. You typically just get 7 days, as well as a code to get 50% off for the entire year as part of their New Year sale. This video is not sponsored by Monarch Money, although I hope to be sponsored by them in the future, but I just really am very passionate about the product and want you all to give it a try. I also want to address the fact that it's been a while since I've posted a video, and that's because I needed time to process everything. 2024 was a very difficult year for me, and I lost a lot, including financial progress, savings progress, certain relationships, and a bunch of other things that just built up to the point where I needed a break. So 2025 is a much needed fresh start to my life and my content, and I'm so grateful to God for allowing me to be here, and I look forward to seeing where He takes me. So before we get into the reset, I just want to do a quick introduction about myself for those who may not have met me yet. Hi, I'm Taylor. I'm 28 years old, living alone with my cat Coda. I started my debt-free journey in 2023 after I got my first full-time job ever. Before that, I was freelancing while staying home with my little sisters, and I was living paycheck to paycheck and no financial change at all for years. So I wasn't making any more money, and my debt was also not changing. So it was a very stagnant period, and that's why having my full-time job really made a difference in the financial progress I've been able to make. So since 2023, I have paid off 60% of my debt so far, and I have about $12,500 of student loan debt remaining. My goal is to be debt-free by December 2026, which is just the end of next year, and it's actually not a lot of time. And I also just got a promotion, so my salary is changing from $50,000 a year to $55,000 a year starting next month. It is not a huge salary jump, but I am still very grateful because that's more discretionary money that I have on a monthly basis to help me reach this really big debt-free goal that I have. And lastly, as part of this introduction, I just want to do a brief overview of everything we're going to talk about in today's video. So we're going to review my 2024 goals, then compare 2024 to 2023, preview my 2025 changes in my budget and my focus for the year, and then we're going to create my budget for 2025, review the goals that I have set for 2025, and then review my projections for 2025. So we have quite a bit to discuss. I'm going to switch between screen sharing and annotating here on my tablet, since I think that'll give me more control over what I'm trying to emphasize as we go through the reset. But please do let me know your thoughts in the comments below if you prefer one over the other. And without further ado, let's get started. So I have imported a screenshot of my Notion page into OneNote so that I can annotate it on the tablet as we go through everything. And the first step is to review my 2024 goals in Notion. And I keep all of my goals in Notion, such as health and wellness, career, business. So it just made more sense to keep my financial goals here as well. And every goal shown here is completed, whether that's big or small, because I just like to keep track of every little accomplishment that I make. And I only have the goals that I actually completed on this page because I don't keep a dedicated list of goals that I didn't finish in a year. It's pretty demotivating for me, so I just give the goal a new date and postpone it to the next quarter or the next year so I can continue working on it. This section is purely for me to just stay positive and remember everything that I accomplished. So as far as the big highlights go for 2024, I paid off 3 debts, and that would be this one, which was a share debt with my family. This one was a business membership, which was technically not a debt, but the way their pricing model is set up is once you pay off a total of $1,200, you get a lifetime membership. So I wanted to track how close I was to getting to that lifetime membership without having to pay them again. So that was a very big accomplishment, not just financially, but also business-wise, and now I will have lifetime access to all of their resources. And lastly, I paid off this WF debt, which was a student loan. So again, huge progress in my debt. And then you'll see I hit a couple of different milestones in my net worth. So first I got under negative 25K, and then under negative 20, and under negative 15, and then I ended the year being under negative 10K. So I am very confident that I can reach a positive net worth in 2025. It is a bit of a stretch goal, but given how rapid my progress was in 2024, going from negative 25K to negative 10K, I think I can make it happen. And then lastly, I got my 401k balance to be $2,500. And for those who are a little bit new to my 401k situation, I didn't open my 401k until I got my full-time job in 2023. So I've just been putting the minimum 2% contribution in order to get the 2% match from my job. And I'm going to continue to put the minimums towards my 401k until I am completely debt free. So the second step in my financial reset is to compare the detailed numbers of that year to the previous year. So in this case, we're comparing 2024 to 2023. Last year, I did a presentation using Canva, but this time I wanted to show you all exactly how I pulled those reports in Monarch Money to compare all the numbers that we're going to be going over. So as you can see, we have 2023 on the left-hand side and 2024 on the right, and we are just going to go through each of the categories to compare the differences. So the first thing we're looking at is income. You can see we've selected the income tab on both of the windows, and comparing my income to 2023, I did have an increase of $4,000 in income, and this was not from a raise or anything. You can see that the difference in my paychecks is about $5,000. That is because I changed some of my deductions that come out of my paycheck. And another thing that kind of boosted the income I had is I had a lot more reimbursements in 2023. Business income, it was a little higher in 2023 as well. So overall, I just had a little bit more money to work with. But now that I have a raise for 2025, I know that this is for sure going to go up even higher. And now to compare my spending, which would be the expenses, I'm just going to change to the spending tab on both windows. And my spending was, what is that, 8,000 more in 2024? That is a pretty big jump. But in the middle of 2024, specifically in June, July, I moved into my first apartment. So that definitely increased a lot of my living expenses. Next thing that I want to compare is the exact total of the money that I put towards my debt in 2023 and 2024. So I'm going to come up here to the filters and make sure the categories are specifically for debts and extra debt payments and apply. And then I'm going to do the same thing for 2024. And now we see the exact difference, just kind of filtering out all the noise to look at my debts. So in 2023, I paid $5,337.35 to my debt. And in 2024, I doubled that and paid $10,785.18. And I already know for 2024, the bulk of those extra debt payments came from a debt settlement that I did in April of 2024. I did talk about that in the first episode of my Living Alone on a Budget series, so I'll leave the link below if you want a little bit more context on that. But as you can see, I paid just under $6,000 here. This was just the credit that they put towards my account for settling for the $5,800. So this was the amount that I didn't have to pay due to the settlement. The next thing I like to review is the Sankey diagram, so I can see the percentages of everything that I'm spending and saving from like a high level view. So first we're going to remove the filters and then go to the cash flow tab, and you're going to click on this first icon to make sure you're looking at the Sankey diagram. And then of course we're going to do the same thing for 2024. So in 2023 I saved just over $2,500, and I do want to clarify when I'm talking about this number in savings, this is not a correlation of the amount that you had saved in your savings accounts. They are simply just taking your total income, subtracting your expenses, and giving you your total net income for that year, aka your savings. So for me, I had a total net income of just over $2,500, which was 7%. And we can see for 2024, I actually had a negative net income, and that's because I ended up spending more than I made, but none of my accounts were in the negative. It just ended up being that way because I was paying off so much debt. But I definitely do want to make sure that I am actually saving in 2025. And we'll talk about my percentages after we finish going over the charts. So the next thing I want to compare is the needs. So in 2023, I spent about 43% on my necessary expenses. These are going to be things like renting utilities, groceries, household. And in 2024, this was actually closer to 50%, which again makes sense because I moved into my apartment and my living expenses went up. And then for wealth in 2023, I spent about 15%, and wealth for me is where I keep my debt and extra debt payment categories. And then in 2024, wealth took up almost 26% of my total expenses for the year. And then for wants, it roughly stayed the same between 2023 and 2024. Which I think is a good thing, because one thing I try to be really mindful about is lifestyle inflation. And now that I have a raise, I will definitely have more discretionary income, but I don't want to go crazy because I'm still trying to have this debt paid off by the end of next year. And then lastly, we have the other group. So in 2023, this was just under 20%, and in 2024, it reduced down to about 11%. And my other group is really any irregular spending and also any annual bills, things that I'm just doing once a year. But as I'm preparing my finances for 2025, I am considering getting rid of this other group altogether and just put each category in the more relevant group. But I'm not 100% sure, which is why I kept it like this for the sake of the reports that we're going over. But if I do change that, I will be sure to give you all an update. And before we head out of the reports tab, I did want to share my guideline percentages for 2025. So I started my debt-free journey using the 50-30-20 budget, which was very helpful. But since the way that I manage my money and spend my money has changed, I would say I am following a 70-10-20 budget instead. So 70% of that will be any necessary expenses, 10% will be my wants, and 20% will go to savings. Like I said, a lot of things have changed in terms of my living situation and how aggressively I'm saving and paying off debts. And I think that percentage ratio is just going to work a little bit better for me than where I started. So for the last set of numbers that I want to go over to compare 2023 to 2024, we are here on the accounts tab. And we're going to play around with these drop downs to get the reports that I want. I'm really hoping that Monarch will add the ability to have net worth and savings reports in the actual reports tab, which is where we just were. But for now, the data is the most important thing, and I just want to see the numbers. So the first thing that I want to look at is my assets and compare that from 2023 to 2024. So I'm going to click on this drop down, go down to assets, and we're going to look at my total assets and changed the filter to all time. So I had about $4,600 in my total assets. And if we look at the end of 2024, which would be the beginning of this year, I had about $3,400 in assets. Now, I do want to point out that December 2024 did have quite a bit of spending. So I bought myself a Nintendo Switch as a Christmas gift, and that was about $400. And then I ended up paying $500 to my Affirm couch debt. So that is why from the beginning of December to the end of December, there is about $1,000 drop there. But that's because I intentionally spent that money. But if we're doing a direct comparison, we could really say that my assets didn't change much because my 401k balance went up, but my savings went down because I moved into my apartment. The next thing I want to look at is my investments balance specifically. So we're going to come up here to the drop down, go to assets and then investments. And instead of doing all time where most of the progress is up here, I'm just going to change this to 1 year. So for me to start with $685 in 2023 and then end up with, I guess we could just say where I am now, $2,600, that means that my balance grew almost 4 times as much, which is absolutely crazy, but it really does show you the power of compound interest and investing early. So I am super happy that I was financially able to resume my 401k contributions, and I look forward to at least doubling that in 2025. The next thing we're going to do is look at my debt balances. So we're going to look at total liabilities, which is all of my debts. So we can see there's definitely some very drastic changes that happened in the past year. So at the end of 2023, I had about $29,000 in total debts. And then in April, we have that very dramatic drop from the debt settlement that I made, and that dropped at about $16,000. And then there is a little bit of a jump here because I took out a loan for a couch. And then at the end of 2024, I had about $13,000 left in total debts. And finally, we're going to look at my actual net worth comparison. So I'm going to come to the drop down again. Let's just do the net worth breakdown and go to yearly. So my net worth for 2023, looking at my cash, investments, and all my debts, my net worth by the end of the year was negative $24,697.18. And by the end of 2024, my net worth was negative $9,893.93, which means I increased my net worth by $14,803.25. I am absolutely amazed that I was able to make that progress. And that's why looking at the numbers like this is so important, because when your head's in the trenches, you don't realize how much progress you're making until you take a step back. So now we're heading back to Notion for the third step, which is my 2025 financial preview, where I kind of brain dump all of the changes that I'm expecting this year and setting a financial focus around that. And I just remembered that since I took a screenshot, I can't actually open this toggle. Let me try to get a screenshot. Okay, I brought in the screenshot of what was in the toggle so you all could see. So on January 3rd, I completely paid off my couch loan with Affirm, which was my final Affirm debt. And I did it as soon as the paycheck hit. I already made the plan to completely pay it off in December. And I decided to do like a split lump sum payment and pay half in December and half in January. So here is a quick recap of the couch. It originally cost $1,589. And they expected me to pay a total, including interest, $2,906. And they projected 4 years, but I paid it off in 10 months and only paid $1,825. So just under $300 over the cost of the couch. I just knew that when I took out this loan to get the couch early, that I didn't want to pay this full balance of almost $3,000. And I'm super excited to not have that 30% interest rate looming over my head. Okay, we're back at the rest of the page, and I want to talk about my financial focus for this year, which is investing in myself. I have been super aggressive with my debt over the past 2 years, but that has come at a cost of a low quality of life, such as not having enough clothes, having an unfurnished apartment, etc. And I don't want to live like that anymore when I don't have to, and I don't have to. So while everyone else is doing a no spend month or a no spend year, I'm going the complete opposite direction and doing a spend more year. Within reason, of course, because I still want to pay off debt. But yeah, I'll be going against the grain and really spending more money on things that bring me joy and get me out of survival mode. So from January to September, I will just be focusing on me and my savings. And then starting in October, when student loans are due again, I'll be doing the final stretch to be debt-free by December 2026. So I'll have a year and 3 months to completely pay off my debt. And then below my financial focus, I have a simple table of all of my expected changes for the year. So obviously, for my income, I have a salary raise here of $5,000, so that is going to affect the way that I budget. I also have a few new subscriptions and expenses that I'll be adding into my budget. I also have a list of big expenses that I'm expecting. I have lease renewal here as the top goal because I do plan to renew my lease, and coincidentally, it also renews in October. So October is going to be a very big month in terms of student loan payments resuming, me renewing my lease and needing to have some money saved up. And also I have to prepare for a potential rent increase. And I put this guess of $500 because I have never had an apartment before, never renewed a lease before, and I just did a little bit of research on the internet about how much I should expect to pay in renewal fees. If you all have any sort of insight, please let me know in the comments below. And then lastly, I have things that might change. So I already talked about my rent potentially increasing in October when I renew my lease. I also have a section for any changes I need to make to my money management system as a whole, but more often than not, it's just going to be account changes. So in this case, I renamed my rainy day fund to just Quick Cash. And before that, this fund was actually called Emergency Fund 1000. But every time I would look at my accounts, I would get it confused with the actual emergency fund, which I'm saving up a year of living expenses. And I really wasn't pulling it out for a rainy day. It was more so just like big expenses that I already knew that I was going to get. So this name of Quick Cash just ended up making more sense for me. And then also I split each of my savings goals into their own savings accounts in Capital One. I originally just had one savings account minus my emergency fund. I just kept everything in one savings account and then split everything in different goals in Monarch Money. But I really want to automate my finances a lot this year. And with Monarch Money, I'm able to set up certain rules and splits and all these different types of metrics that I can automate through Monarch Money. And in order for me to do that, it was just going to be way easier for everything to have its own savings account. So that's what I ended up doing. And I'll quickly go over the different types of bank accounts that I have. So these two in blue, bills and spending. Bills is just for rent and utilities. So rent, water, sewer, electric, gas, and internet. And spending is anything else that I need to spend in a month that doesn't fall under bills. So everything in the kitchen sink there. Annual bills is for things due once a year, such as my phone bill, taxes, and annual subscriptions. And I'll also note that I have grouped all of my annual bills to come out between January and March. This just makes it way easier when I'm calculating how much I need to save instead of having a bunch of different due dates that fall randomly throughout the year. So now that everything is grouped into one quarter, I can start saving for it in April, and then by the end of March, I'll have everything I need, and then I'll just restart in April. I also have the home fund. This was previously the moving fund when I was first saving up for an apartment. And I am just calling it home because it's anything related to my living situation. Short-term goals is going to be based on whatever short-term focus I'm working on that doesn't fall into the above accounts. And then I have the Pets and Vets Sinking Fund, which is anything for my cat Coda. Next, I have gifts. This is for any and all gifts throughout the year. I just like to keep it simple. I don't want to have separate funds for birthdays or holidays or Christmas, etc. And then lastly, I have my actual emergency fund where I'm trying to save a year of living expenses, as I said. And this is at a completely separate institution, Marcus by Goldman Sachs. And next I have goal planning, but we're going to come back to this towards the end of the video because we have a lot of foundational blocks that we need to sort out first. So let's head into Monarch Money. So we've gone over my 2025 financial preview and all the changes that I'm expecting for this year. And now it's time to put all of those changes into my day-to-day budgeting system in Monarch Money. So the first thing I do is go to the recurring tab and go to all recurring and just check through the frequencies of all of these subscriptions and see if there's anything that I want to cancel. I want to go to my category settings so that I can talk to you all about some of the changes or existing things that I have in my categories. I did make just a very simple cosmetic change to everything in my wants category. I just gave it this wine glass because it's fitting the vibes of the direction I'm going. You'll also see I have a new category here called appearance, and this aligns with my goal to invest more in myself this year. So this is going to be anything where I'm investing in my appearance. This could be clothes, shoes, jewelry, beauty products. I just felt like it needed its own category, and also so that I could hold myself accountable at the end of the year and see if I actually did spend more on myself. Okay, we are finally jumping into the numbers for my budget categories for 2025. So we are here on the budget page and we're going to switch to the forecast. Now I am doing a no spend month for January because I already paid $588 to Affirm to completely get that out of my hair, which I'm super grateful that I was able to do. However, I did have to pull money from like every other category in order to make that happen. So definitely a no spend month. And we're just going to start my annual budget from February on. So we'll kind of just ignore January for now. I also want to point out that as a couple of days ago, we can finally turn off that default checkbox that applies all the budget changes to all future months. So you can finally go into the budget settings and make sure that you only have this month only selected, if that's what you want, of course. It's definitely what I want. But since we are doing our annual budget right now, I do want to make sure that this is checked off. But in case you weren't aware, you can do that now. This is amazing. And starting off with my income, starting next month, my take home will actually be $3,363, as you can see for the future months. And then bank rollovers will always be empty because it is just a placeholder category when I'm budgeting. So this will never have any actual numbers, and we're just gonna completely collapse the income section. These collapsible sections are also completely new as of, I think, maybe 2 weeks ago. Next we have rent, and this is going to remain the same as last year, a total of $1,448. This is $1,392 for my rent itself. And then I have a $56 security deposit premium on top of that. And I'm going to continue to pay the premium each month, even after I renew my lease in October, because paying $56 a month for 12 months is only $672. Whereas if I wanted to pay the security deposit up front the traditional way, that would be $1,400. And every dollar matters to me as I'm on this debt-free journey. So I'll be saving myself close to $1,000 by just doing the monthly security deposit payment. And yes, I understand the trade that I'm not getting that money back by paying it monthly, but I'm just trying to be very intentional with every dollar right now because I have a hard deadline to be debt-free next year. Next, I have water sewer, which is going to be $70 a month. This is actually a little bit unpredictable because unfortunately my billing is based on community usage and then divided by a formula. So all I can do really is try to keep my own consumption down and just hope for the best. And then I have my electric. This is variable but specifically billed to me. My bills are going to be lower in the winter and higher in the summer. I'm just going to budget 50 for now and then increase it later as needed. Same with the water and sewer. And then for my gas, internet, and insurance, this is actually $150 right now. But starting in April, this is going to reduce down to $130. And that is because I am canceling Coda's additional coverage. And I feel like my money would be better used if I just kept it to myself and put it in a high yield savings account instead of just kind of paying it and having it disappear in the nether. That will be $20 more in my budget starting in April. And then groceries, I'm expecting this to stay the same for the most part. However, inflation is on the rise, so I would not be surprised if I had to increase my groceries. Household is going to be $70. Pet supplies is going to be $80. And then for laundry, I'm going to budget $50 a month. I do not have an in-unit washer and dryer. It is a community one just for this building on the first floor. So I do have to budget for paying out of pocket for that. And then transportation, I don't budget for because that gets taken out of my paycheck as part of a pre-tax deduction since I do travel to the office once a week. So we're going to do therapy at $75 a month, and this is actually going to be a rollover category. So I made this a rollover category because my therapy is billed once every 3 weeks, which means that for every month, it's going to alternate between $50 and $100. So instead of me manually typing that out every month, I figured that on the months I only have one session, the remaining $25 will roll over to the following month, and then that'll be covered and it'll just kind of balance itself out. And then for my subscriptions, the total here per month is going to be about $29. And the reason it's about $29 is because besides my other subscriptions that I need to keep on a monthly basis, like Google One, Google Workspace, I have a fund subscription of my choice. So what I do at the beginning of the month or the month before is decide what subscription I want, such as Netflix, Hulu, Crunchyroll, etc. And once I decide the one that I want, I just use it for that month. And then if the following month I don't want to use it anymore, I either completely cancel it or replace it. And that helps me to make sure I'm not spending money on things that I don't use. So this is always fluctuating, but it's typically no more than $30 a month. Wellness is going to be $30, and then appearance is going to be $100 a month, which is, a little bit more money than I usually spend on myself, but that's part of my goal for the year. So this is going to average to about $25 a week, which I think is pretty reasonable. And then home, we're going to do the same thing at $100 a month or $25 a week. And fund money is going to stay the same at $25 a month, and the same for restaurants. Tithes is also going to be $25 a month, at least for right now. And then for gifts, this actually goes into the gift sinking fund each month. And if I need to get a gift for somebody, I just take it out of the sinking fund and then buy it. And travel will not be happening for a little while, probably not until after I pay off all my debt. Next, we have wealth, and I will not be making any payments on my debts until October when student loan payments are due. Like I said in the beginning of the video, I'm really prioritizing building up my savings so that way I can go all in with my debt once October hits and really pay off as much as I can before the end of next year. Bank rollovers is another placeholder, so again, we don't need a budget for that. And then for annual bills, I am going to pull up my bill calendar real quick and just put in when that money is coming out. So I have Squarespace and Nintendo Switch Online coming out here in January. And then February is my phone bill, so that's $201. And then March, I pay for TaxSlayer, which helps me do my taxes. And then I also have NordPass, which is a password manager. So I need a total of $140, it looks like. And then that's it for the year because I group all of my annual expenses between January and March. And then lastly, for the goals section, we are not going to get into the nitty gritty like I did last time of how much I'm going to withdraw each month and deposit and then get the net. We're not doing all that. We're just going to put in the numbers for what I know I'm going to contribute to every single month. So starting with my emergency fund, which I need to expand here, I'm going to put $200 a month into this starting in February. So I'm just going to quickly add this across, and I'm just hitting the tab key on my keyboard so I can quickly go to the next cell. And yes, I am aware that you can go into each goal and fill in the monthly contribution and it'll fill out the annual forecast with that number. However, I have found it to be a little bit glitchy, and I also like the flexibility of just moving the money and seeing exactly what I want to put towards it that month without like seeing a preset number that I have to change again anyways, because day-to-day money is just very dynamic, and this is just one less step. Next, we have the vet visit fund as part of the Pets and Vet savings account. So starting in February, this is going to get $90 a month. And I am so sorry for Coda's whining. He wants attention and I'm trying to film. I'm almost done. And then lastly, we have gifts, which I'm going to contribute $25 a month to. And then for annual bills, this is going to start in April because, as I showed you before, I have all of my annual bills coming out between January and March. So I start contributing in April after I've already depleted the fund. So starting in April for annual bills, we're going to put $36 a month. And then by the end of March in 2026, I should have all the money that I need. Okay, I think that's it for the savings contributions. So we have $200 to the emergency fund, $90 to the vet visit fund, $25 a month to gifts, and then starting in April, we have annual bills. So it looks like from April to September, I will have $345 extra money each month to put towards my savings goals. And of course, this is in addition to what I'm already putting towards my emergency fund and my bill sinking fund, etc. And I just realized I did not go over the rollover categories. So I'm just going to come over here to January and show you all which ones are now rollovers. So groceries, pet supplies, therapy for the reasons I shared before, and basically all of my wants categories here. I definitely do want to encourage myself to spend that money if I don't spend it this month. And yeah, that's it. All right, we are back in Notion for the final time in this video, and we're finally getting into my financial goals for the year, which I've already done off camera. But first you'll see that the goals are in two groups. Ongoing, which means it's something I will always try to maintain even after I complete it. And then my defined goals down here are goals that are typically a one-time thing where I don't want to worry about it after I complete it. So my ongoing goals are to save a pets and vets sinking fund, save an annual bill sinking fund, have $1,000 in my quick cash account, and save a gift sinking fund. And my defined term goals, which I guess you could say are what people may think of when they think of goals for the new year: save $500 for my apartment lease renewal, save 1 month of necessary expenses, and that's going to be the first milestone in my emergency fund, save $300 for a doctor's visit, pay off student loan interest, which is what I will come back to, get my net worth under negative $5,000, and the stretch goal would be to get to a positive net worth. And then I want to have a balance of $5,000 in my 401k and also get my first credit card. Now, I want to highlight that getting my net worth to a certain number or having a certain number in my 401k balance are considered milestones because I don't have direct control over them. With my net worth, that is indirectly affected by how much I save or pay down debt. And my investments balance is indirectly affected by how much I put in my 401k. And of course, even with that, there's a lot of unknowns based on how the market will perform. But regardless, these are numbers that kind of just give me my financial standing. And it's not necessarily something I can directly control by putting a number on it. So because I consider these milestones, I am going to hide them from this view. And the next property I have here is the priority, which determines how and when I'll put my effort towards a certain goal. VIP goals must get done this year. Priority ones are important, but are a little bit more flexible, and priority twos are just nice to haves. And having each goal have a clear priority level helps me make sure I'm focusing on the right things when I'm doing my monthly reviews, which is something I recommend that everyone do this year for all of your goals, financial or otherwise. So the first thing I want to do is establish some start and end dates. I am going to clear this one out. And then I already talked about my annual bills, how I start in April and end in March of the following year. For the gifts, I definitely do need to have that by the end of the year. And then the lease renewal, this is going to be a very important date here because my lease renews in October, so I definitely need it by then. And then for the student loan interest, this is a goal that I will work towards only if I complete all my other ones before October. But I would like to pay off the interest that is owed on my student loans right now, because that means when I start making my payments later on in October, my payments will go towards the principal and not the interest. So if I paid off before then, especially since interest is not accruing right now, I would be giving myself a head start. And the interest I have right now is a little over $500. So it is quite a bit. We'll see if I'm able to get it, but I think we'll leave the goal end date for now and we'll come back to it later. Oh, and I forgot to point out that I do have this very simple table that just shows the extra money that I have each month based on what we just went over in the annual forecast. So these numbers down here that say total left, I just put those here in a simple table to kind of give me a quick reference as we're planning out everything. So I'm going to switch over to the timeline view so we can drag and drop things. And we're going to start with the pets and vets one because this is going to be year long since I really don't need it until November. And then annual bills, I will not need this until March of next year. So we can definitely have that drag out, which I think it's already doing. And then for my 1 month of rent, that is going to be $200 a month as we already put on the budget. So we'll drag that from February to just the end of the year in December. And then lastly, gifts will also be on autopilot because I put $25 a month to that regardless. You know what? We're going to change annual bills to priority 2 because it doesn't need to get done this year since I don't need it until March of next year. So I don't want to confuse myself. We'll drop that down. Okay, so then the last couple of goals we need to schedule are the lease renewal, the quick cash, the doctor's visit, and the credit card. The interest, we're not going to worry about that right now. Okay, for the credit card, part of me wants to get that as soon as possible so that I can start building my credit while I'm working on my other goals and building savings. I need $200. February, I'll only have $160, so we can get it in March. We'll have enough money in March. So let's push the credit card here. And yeah, we'll just say for the month of March, we'll work on getting my credit card. And then the lease renewal is definitely important. You know what? I'm going to merge the doctor's visit and the quick cash goals because the quick cash, like the purpose of that account is for big expenses, and $300 for the doctor's visit is a big expense. So I'm going to delete this one and we'll get quick cash to 1,000 and then go to the doctor. So I'll have the $300 in the account and then some. Yeah, so the total amount of extra money I'll have between February and April is, what is that, $700, I think, if I'm doing the quick math right. So 700 minus 200, we'll have 500 left, and we'll use that 500 in April for the lease renewal. I hope all of this is making sense. This is just the way that I brainstorm about money. If you all have any questions, I'm happy to answer them, but I'm not really treating this like a tutorial, but more so just how I think. Yeah, I have $330 in my quick cash account right now, so I would only need May and June to fill it up. That puts me at July though. I don't want to wait another 6 months to go to the doctor. Let's move some things around. So we'll get the credit card and use the leftover money in March and April to fill up the quick cash. And then by the end of April, and that's if I choose to wait that long, by the end of April, I'll go to the doctor's. So I think for May, I'll be able to save up the full 500 for the lease renewal or somewhere around there. I'm not going to be too particular. We'll just give ourselves a month buffer. That means I may be able to start saving for the student loan interest in July. If we give ourselves a month gap because of any discrepancies in my math, yeah, I think I could start just saving up extra money between July and September. That's about 3 full months. And then when student loans resume in October, I should be able to have quite a bit to put towards the interest, as well as, start putting towards principal as well. Okay, so let's recap the jumbled mess that I just spoke. So all throughout the year, we're going to contribute to pets and vets, my emergency fund, and the gift sinking fund. And then starting in April, we'll contribute to the annual bills. So those will just be kind of background tasks. And then between March and April, I'll get my credit card and also save up $1,000 in the quick cash fund. And then in May, we will save the $500 for the lease renewal. We gave ourselves a little bit of a cushion just in case things don't go according to plan, which they normally don't. And then from the beginning of July to the end of September, we'll save up as much as we can to prepare for student loans in October. I think that's a pretty solid plan. Hopefully that made sense to everybody who was watching, but this is the plan that we have for our goals this year. And I did just want to head back to Monarch to show you all how I'm tracking my goals in Monarch. So I'm going to go to the goals tab, and you can see all of the goals that I have right now, and each goal is associated with its own account. So the emergency fund goal is connected to the emergency fund account. Quick cash is connected to the quick cash account, so on and so forth. So everything is kind of fully in its place here. And my goals here are listed in order of priority, and you can see I've color coded them. So green is going to be any type of savings account, yellow is for retirement, and red is for debt. And I forgot to say, you can see that within each goal I do have a target, which is based on the numbers we just talked about in Notion. As you can see with the data we're looking at right now, it is only showing 2024. But I'm going to adjust it so that we see all of 2024 and all of 2025, just so you all can see a bigger picture of the progress from last year and what the projections are showing. So it thinks that my cash will continue to decrease, which is fair because it did decrease in the last quarter of the year, but obviously that's not going to be the case. So I'm not really going to rely on that information too much. And then for my investments, it is predicting that I'm going to have an approximate balance of $4,700, and my goal is to have $5,000 in my 401k. So this is not too far off at all, and I consider this to be pretty accurate. So looking forward to putting numbers in this and getting it to be closer to 5,000. And then debt is going to be a little tricky. Because I'm not planning to make any payments until October of 2025, which is going to be the last quarter of the year. And then lastly, for net worth, it's predicting that I'm going to get to negative 2,000, at least around that. And of course, I did say that I wanted to get under negative $5,000. So this does predict I'll be able to do that. But I really want to get to a positive net worth. So I'll continue to just put data in here every month and see how the numbers change. I know that's going to be a bit of a stretch goal, like I said before, but I do want to make it happen. So overall, for my predictions here, besides the cash, this chart is pretty accurate. All right, everyone, that is it for my 2025 financial reset. We reviewed my progress, established my goals, created my budget, and looked at my forecast for the year. So I feel really prepared to achieve all of my goals and then some. In the comments, I'd like to know, what are your financial goals for the year? I think making your goals public gives you a lot of accountability. And that's why I made this video, because I want accountability too. And again, if you want to track your finances the same way I'll be doing it this year, I have a link in the description for you to get a free extended 30-day trial with Monarch Money. If you don't use my link, you will only have a 7-day trial, and I really want you to get the full month's worth. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. I hope you found it helpful, inspiring, or maybe educational, and I will see you all in the next one.